Yeah, hey everybody. So you'll forgive the really messy presentation here, but this is actually six questions to ask before buying a store on the Shopify exchange. This is for our e-commerce made easy mini course, and I'm going to really quickly run through these below. This is actually the notepad that I created the video for. The other video that many of you have watched already. So essentially, here are the questions you want to ask. One, are the numbers really real and not real, but really real? So what that means is if a store is doing, 10K a month in revenue, how much of that is actually real revenue, right? So is it drop shipping revenue? Is it all Facebook ads that are driving traffic to a store that's entirely comprised of outsourced products that there's a 20% profit margin on and the store is losing money? That's a really common tactic or sneaky approach to selling stores on the Shopify exchange. All right, two, and again, you'll forgive the spelling mistakes here, but what direction is the graph going, right? So all of these listings have a graph that Shopify includes on the exchange sites for sale. And almost always you'll see that graph going down. So it's slanting down over time. And what that typically means is that they're obviously trending down in terms of both their traffic and their sales. But it typically means, to me anyway, and this is just an intuition, in large part, sometimes it's factually based, but that the folks started running ads and running a drop shipping store, let's say in September, and realized after 3 or 4 months that, you know what, it just ain't worth spending $5,000 a month on Facebook ads, selling $4,900 or $5,200 worth of product, losing a few $100s overall, and they just figure it's worth selling, and they drop their advertisements, and therefore they drop their traffic numbers, right? So you can see that by dint of the traffic and the sales figures in most of these graphs. And typically, especially with the newer stores that have kind of lofty numbers, these graphs are all going down. All right, number three, do they have their own products? Do they make something? Are they building something unique? Essentially, are these stores creating real value in the world? Most of the stores that I see, again, in the exchange are drop shipping stores. That just means they've added the Oberlo app or something like that, which is free, or at least free for starters, and they're pulling products from AliExpress and just acting more as a middleman for their audience. All right. Those stores are really not adding any value to the world. They may have appeal if you're an entrepreneur and want to sort of get started quickly. But if that's you, I would recommend you build your own rather than buy something that already exists in the world. It's a waste of money to buy one of those stores unless, and we'll cover that in the last two, that they meet a couple of very specific criteria. All right, so number four, this is a question that I ask myself, and I encourage everyone watching this to ask: how quickly could you reverse engineer the exact same setup, the exact style store for yourself? Why buy an existing Shopify store from the exchange that isn't creating something unique if you can simply emulate that whole entire thing for free in a weekend, right? So you can install Oberlo and add 1,000 products yourself in a long weekend on a free Shopify trial or a $29 Shopify fee, rather than buying something for $2,900 that's already done all that for you. And it's really a trivial burden to set all that up for yourself. So ask yourself, how quickly could you reverse engineer the whole thing for yourself? If the answer is 72 hours or less, why would you pay multiple thousands of dollars to somebody else? Unless, and this is where 5 and 6 come in, does the domain name have value? So occasionally I'll see a really good short domain that has good brand value on the exchange. yeah, that's different. I mean, that's something that might have appeal. A good domain can really be a differentiator in terms of the value proposition when buying one of these pre-existing shops. Do they have a list? Do they have a newsletter list? How much of that of their sales or their conversions are coming from something like the relationship marketing campaigns that have been cultivated from the community, in this case, the newsletter, or Facebook, or Instagram, or whatever it is that they're including as an asset as part of the transaction. To me, what's most notable here, what's most interesting, is a newsletter list, like a Mailchimp or a ConvertKit, or whatever the audience is relative. I'm saying this badly. It matters not whether it's MailChimp or otherwise. If they have a list of 5 or 8 or 9 or 20,000 people, that can have real value, and in combination with a really good domain name. And if that newsletter is converting into sales, that would tilt the scales to me in favor of maybe buying a pre-existing store, even if it was something like a drop ship style community. All right, so all this being said, what's the real value of the assets that they actually own? So one of the things that I see that people include a custom Shopify design as part of the asset base that they're selling. Well, that sounds great in theory, especially if the store looks really nice. But the truth is, most of these custom premium designs are really just themes that you can buy on the Shopify theme store. So they might have a value of $1,500 for a custom theme, and you'll just see that no matter how good that looks, they bought that theme and customized it a little bit from Shopify for $160 or $180 or at most $200. So that's not a real asset to me. That's a fabricated value, because you can reverse engineer that, as we covered up here, in 8 minutes, because those themes already look great. You install them, and then they give you a premium appearance, and then you make simple modifications or customizations that you want for your brand, and you have, in quotes, a customized Shopify design, right? So all of this, is just subject to your ability to sit down and really intelligently look at what the reverse engineer or your ability to emulate the exact approach that the store for sale is bringing to bear in the world, and how quickly you can recreate that same thing for free, or for a couple $100 at most. $29 for Shopify for the month, and let's say $180 for a theme, and let's say even $15 for a domain name, and you've got the same thing in 3 hours for $210. All right, so ask yourself all these questions before you run out and dump a whole bunch of hard-earned cash on a store that might look good in theory, but when you really punch some jello, you see is on shaky ground underneath. All right, any questions, feel free to ask. Hope it helps. Thanks.